Okay. Happy International Women's Day, Heroes and Heroines, and welcome to Practising Programming in C, in which we are continuing to do Cinera's config file parsing routine. Now, yesterday we were doing you may remember that we had two things to deal with. We had to deal with so that the overriding thing is variable name resolution, and that involves two bits. The first bit is handling, sorting out where we're actually going to store the stuff. So literally, like which bit of memory do we write the characters into? And the second bit is actually resolving variables. So it's seeing stuff like this. It's seeing stuff like this person up here, and resolving this to be whatever the person's name is. I think was that a testing that I added in yesterday? I think probably. Actually, no. I think that's been there all the time, hasn't it? This was there. I added this yesterday. So essentially, what this means is that it's supposed to. This is an indicator that is a variable. And saying support, the idea is that it's supposed to be referring to the ID of this support scope, which is PayPal. So this would resolve to sprite underscore PayPal.png. Okay, so we've got those two bits, the memory and the resolution. Now yesterday we were doing the memory side of it, and we were trying to essentially set up like a growable memory arena to fit to kind of put this stuff in. Unfortunately, we kind of encountered this situation where when you resize the arena, you actually lose all of the pointers that were pointing into that arena become invalid. Right, that was the trouble we were hitting. And I was sort of thinking of trying to come up with a solution to that between last stream and this stream. I haven't really come up with a good solution at all, so I'm not going to be doing that. But I am just going to quickly note down something I did kind of think about. And I did kind of mention it yesterday as well. The idea is essentially that you have like offsets into this arena. So rather than when you, let me just show you specifically. Rather than these strings, right? Rather than these being actual pointers into a structure, pointers into memory, pointers into an arena and a length. Rather than doing that, because these can end up being invalid if you have to move the arena. Rather than doing that, changing it to be like an offset, basically. So it's like a string offset of sorts, which is just saying from the start of this arena, this string starts at this kind of character, this byte of this arena, and then have the length as usual. So that's kind of the idea that I'm going to just jot down here. I don't know if it's a good idea, and it probably isn't actually, because because of something I'm going to write down. So one option probably won't do. Change the string struct to be right. Change the string to an offset and length. where offset is the number of bytes into the arena at which the string begins. This would require us to pass the arena around. Well, or rather, kind of, well, it's to be available everywhere that one of these so that's kind of like why that's an argument against doing it. I mean, one way to kind of get around that difficulty would be to make the arena global. But I'm still not sure whether that is even the right way to kind of tackle this at all. But that was option 1. The option that we tried, actually, let's just call this option 1. Adding a string list. Try adding a string list but later realize that the string base pointers in the string list. I mean, this is kind of the second thing that I tried, wasn't it? So we also got the string list pointers. So yeah, I guess like untried option, untested option. Was there any other options I even thought about? I suppose the other considerations were like, why are we doing this in the first place? The only reason that we're trying to do this, it's the option was a stream, wasn't it? Yeah, the reason that we're doing it is to save us having to free all the individually allocated things individually, essentially. That's the only point of doing this. So it's supposed to be making our lives easier. Now it's untested option 2, stream. Now I'm not exactly sure how this is supposed to be, but I seem to recall, because again yesterday I mentioned that Casey had done this. Not what I'm doing. He's done it like how you actually need to do it. And I believe he calls his thing a stream. Like he writes into a stream. So when I say a stream, I'm talking about something like standard out, standard in, and also like files, right? So when you write to a file, when you do like fprintf, the first argument to fprintf is a stream, isn't it? Yeah, it's a file points to a stream, right? And as I understand it, that cannot move, right? So maybe what I need to do is learn what this actually is. Like when you're talking about a stream, like how do these guys actually get like instantiated, and how are they made able to fit the amount of stuff that you need to fit in them, if you know what I mean. Because at the moment I just don't have that perspective. I just don't know how that would work. I mean, my assumption is that it kind of, there's like a pointer somewhere, there's like a bit of memory somewhere, and that memory is just set that it has to be always positioned in the same place. right? So that if and when it needs to expand, the pointers that are already pointing into it, if indeed, I mean, I assume that you can have pointers into streams. I mean, maybe it's possible you can't actually. And then it's like, well, how do you actually refer to stuff that's in a stream? I don't know. So I guess my to-do for the stream is like learn what it even is, really. Our stream is instantiated and maintained, for want of a better word. Oh, I guess we need to learn what a stream is. So yeah, this is I mean, it's just the overall sort of memory kind of strat, I guess. But I'm not going to be doing this today. These are things I'm just going to park for the moment. And I'm going to swivel over to doing the resolution side of it. So I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to use like the make string function that is currently working, and I'm going to change this resolve string to just have like a local little bunch of memory that it can write one of these strings into. And then after having done that, we then do a make string based on that thing, and we end up with a separately an individually allocated little thing. So let's do that. And it's worth bearing in mind that this will require, we won't be writing a result necessarily. I guess what we could do is we could have made this like this. Say we've got like a kilobyte to play with. So we're basically going to be filling this little buffer with characters, and then finally passing it to make string, and then returning that. That's essentially what we're doing. So we've been given a string. So we've got an arena. Yeah, also the arena thing. I think I'll just leave it being passed for now. Just make a note actually that totally unused at the moment. Well, yeah. So yeah, they're still passing the arena through, just in case the resolve string ends up using anything like an arena, but we're not using it. So we've got the result here. The location is going to be, we don't need to care about the location, do we? Yeah, we don't need to do that at all. So here's our task. Push into arena, actually perform the resolution. So the task that we're doing is performing the resolution. Well, who cares? Probably don't need the variable count either. But as a very first sort of thing of this, let us just push on to the result, the string as it comes in, right? And then we can get a bit cool with it. So that's going to be at the start of the result, and let's just say for the length of the thing, right. What is this using? It's using at base, and it's just increasing the variable count and printing the string. Okay, yeah, we don't care about that. We can't be printing out this necessarily because it's going to be giving us no information. And then when we get down here, you just put a null pointer, and then you make a string out of the result. Right. Assignment to car from void. Oh, you can't do that. I didn't know that. And also, I usually do null pointers like null terminators like that. So with a bit of luck, this should produce exactly. Well, I mean, we're not going to see this because it don't get printed out. Which I think this shouldn't crash. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I suppose what could be kind of fun could be to just print the result. And also, probably just to remove confusion, we just don't print out this little dude here. I think this is okay. Now we should, yeah, we see that there's a project here. So let's just, as a very first step, we're being passed the scope tree, the parent. So let's just say, let's make it even easier on ourselves for this moment, and rather than trying to determine the extent of this by using any sort of fancy footwork, by which I mean like, I mean, I guess it's just like a is valid variable character, I suppose, isn't it? And you just sort of say, well, I mean, it's the rules of the shell variable expansion. That's what we're talking about, which we need to look up. But one of the rules I know that we have is the following: if you do this, right, then you are saying that you are delimiting the variable yourself, essentially. So as a very first step, let's just handle this particular case here, because we're going to have to handle it anyway. And also, I think we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to do this as we did the parser. So we're going to be switching on the character .I. If the character is a thingamajig, then we're going to increment I, are we not? Let's quickly look that up actually. How did I do that? And also we probably backslash. Oh, we don't have that, do that. Huh, interesting. I thought that I did handle backslash escaping, and so it's not ident, it's should be one of these, shouldn't it? Well, not one of them. Yeah, one of these. Token strings. Okay, so we don't handle backslash escapes. So then how do we increment past it? Pretty sure it's only in the string that we actually need to be dealing with this. We've got a nice little empty thing here, which is correctly empty. I do feel like we had a thing where we just I mean, frankly, why not just write it? And figure out if it's even right. I think that was the thing, wasn't it? Whatever we see after that, we're essentially supposed to be incrementing past it. Do I think that is all you do? Like if you've got a backslash, that's it. What doesn't that like? Let me just rewrite this a bit. I think we're going to have to keep a bunch of different, well, at least one pointer around to say that we're talking about the start. So you can actually delimit something, and even if you're kind of thinking that you found a variable, but if it turns out that you haven't found a variable, you need to actually output the existing stuff, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. So what I'm basically saying is, having like a bool throughout the length of the thing. I don't know, possible variable. This is feeling a little bit like the JSON parser that I did. And then this is going to be and all other cases. I think all we're doing is, I think we might need to check on parsing variable and parsing scoped variable. Yeah, we might need to do that. But yeah, in all other cases, I think all we're doing is we're saying pointer plus plus is going to be equal to the s base I, yeah, the character that we've been switching on. Right. And then increment I outside the switch statement. I think that might be right. Right. So we hit that. We understand that we're supposed to just increment straight past that. And then increment past the next character, whatever that character is. Then we come in, if we see this, and we say we're parsing variable, I think if we see this, we need to be saying if parsing scoped variable, isn't it? It's like, essentially like that. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to be going through something like, for example, project. But let's first of all just handle the case that we delineated. What was that? This guy. So let's just make sure we can handle that. So we're going to be coming through this string here. So this is the string we've got incoming. We want to be producing from this template underscore player underscore risky .html. So we're going through the characters. We're going to be writing those characters into the result as we go. This guy is simply incrementing us through the string. If we encounter this, I think the rule here actually is if the character before this is that, isn't it? I think we need to first of all check that. Where's that going? No. I mean, you could also even maybe when you see this, you just consume the entire thing. Yeah, I mean, I will need to look up the rules actually about shell variable expansion. Just thinking about what happens if you do two $signs next to each other. What does that mean? And I don't know. But essentially, if you're saying this, so you're going to be going through the string. You've come straight to here. You're saying parsing variable equals true, and you're going to increment past that thing without doing this, right? Then you come through again. You say the case is this, if that, and this, which we just passed. Then we're saying parsing scope variable equals true, and then we increment past this, right? Then we're going to go through, we're going to hit this default case, and this is going to actually start to output the project, which we don't want. So it kind of seems the most expedient way might actually just be to, when you see this thing, you actually just do the whole parse while you're there. It's a bit unfortunate because we're within a loop up there, but while that does not equal to this, right? Mind you, then you need to I mean, obviously when I get into here, I'm going to need to give myself a string, essentially. Is that right? I think you need to increment I actually once. So you see this, then you increment I. You see at the base is at the base there. And you say that the test length, incrementing the test length, while it's not equal to that. Once it does equal to that, we're going to pop out and we should find we need to decrease the test length, don't we? We're still okay to be sitting on the thing at that point, because this guy will then increment us past it. Let's just, as the very first step, just print this test string out. And also let us, when we get into here, let's just fprintf. I don't believe print string gives us the new line, does it? No. So the pointer is S base. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, fine. Forget it. What are we doing later on? We are making string with the result. I think they should be fine because I don't think we'd even. Well, we are populating the result with this, aren't we? Yeah, we are doing that. But what we would need to be doing when we actually find this, when we find this string, we want to basically seeing what it is and trying to resolve this particular string. That's essentially what we're trying to do. And upon resolution of it, we will have to be pushing on the resolved value onto this result. Right, but I don't think we should have any issues here regarding the result if we don't do that, because it should just end up pushing garbage on, which is fine for now. And also, this case here, we don't. This is redundant now because of this thing. Yeah, we're not incrementing I. Well, we are incrementing it here, aren't we? But this is at the end of the loop, and it'll get caught by this, so we shouldn't go too far, basically. So let's see what we end up with. Does it crash? Doesn't crash. I think we only had one scoped thingamajig, didn't we? Sadly. I mean, I guess we could actually print this in like green. Oh, make it yellow. Really, we don't get that. Did I just not see it? So I did it in the support. Oh, yeah, brilliant. So what's going on here is this project scope within the support is actually invalid. So this ain't even getting passed. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Let's do it somewhere where it's actually getting passed. So I think this thing here should be. I suppose I could do one down at the bottom of the file actually as well. So this didn't get found either. Is that as expected? Support PayPal. I mean, it's possible that this actually gets overwritten, honestly. Can't I just say parsing scoped variable? Yeah, you see, I don't hit that. So what are we seeing down at the bottom? We're seeing handmade array way down at the bottom. So here we have a home. And these, interestingly, seem to be busted, don't they? Oh no, maybe not. Because we're seeing this and incrementing past it, so we're not actually writing out the thing. I guess actually we could use that, couldn't we? So for handmade, well, it's which one would it be? It's going to be risky. www.risky. So we presume it's this. Okay. Parsing is good variable. All right, so that's kind of handy. We don't have to be decrementing the length. It's nice. There we go. So we now get home. Do I see that any more times? Yeah, I do. So now that we've done this, we want to be saying, I mean, because we know that this is a getEnv, we can do like the second case. As in, we're going to first of all resolve local variables and then try and resolve environment variables. But let us produce the home. Also, this is perfectly correct as well. So we should be producing. What does home evaluate to? Yep, that's perfect. Home map, and then it's going to be the / after that. So let's just do that. So getEnv is going to actually return a maybe what you do actually is pass the pointer where you want it to be putting it onto. So it just straight up, it just does the whole thing, it just writes onto it. I think that is what I want to be doing. That it can, this guy can then do the getEnv, write the stuff onto the pointer, incrementing the pointer as we go. The pointer needs to be, it needs to be passed as a pointer to a pointer as well, so we can actually increment it. Unless we do like pointer plus equals the result of this and making this return the number of characters that it wrote. Which we could do actually. Well, nah, let's do it like this. So this is going to return a void. It's going to be taking a pointer to a pointer, like best, and it's going to be. I suppose one unfortunate thing about this is it's not going to know how far this can go. I mean, we don't have any information about that actually either. We don't know if the pointer is going to fly past the end of the result buffer or anything. So this takes a car star, doesn't it? So we basically need to be turning the incoming string variable into a car star. So how do you do that? It's not wrap z because that's the, or wrap 0 because that's the other way. I mean, maybe just do like, can you do this? Well, it's not even that, it's pretty sure I have a copy string somewhere, but it's not here. Yeah, that's the point. I can't be using, sorry, I called it variable z, didn't I? Variable 0, that's what I wanted to call it. So variable 0, put that there, variable length, and we're just going to be saying simply pointer plus plus is equal to the and then finally pointer what's wrong? Initialization of car star. We're going to have to put a car star star. Yeah, we're not actually using the dest, are we? Oh yeah, that's going to happen later. Oh yeah, so we can have that. And let's just, first of all, printf this thing out. Shouldn't that be okay? Oh. Remember the truth, does it crash? It doesn't crash. And we get the environment variable. It's pretty nice. So basically we just want to be saying push those characters I mean, it's sort of a sprintf essentially, isn't it? Kind of. Although I don't think we want to exactly do sprintf because somebody else is going to have to be writing into the thing, so we can't null terminate it, essentially. We want to let our outer guy null terminate, or outer lady, for that matter, on International Women's Day. So car resolution is going to be equal to that, which itself is going to be null terminated. But then we want to get a pointer, get another pointer to the resolution. Might as well use the same one because we don't care about this particular person anymore. And this one is going to be while pointer. Right, well, it's not a null terminator. We want to say that the value of the dest is that right? Is this what I want? Probably not. Doesn't like something. Assignment to car star. Right, and then we just go. So we're incrementing the dest. Now let's just see if this little guy here ends up saying home mat www.risky. That'll be in here, won't it? So so again, getEnv is going to be returning a null terminated string. Is it not? A pointer to the corresponding value string. Well, I mean, look, I can print it, can't I? Probably just done a simple typo here. Also, let's just print this. Print C does just take a what's its face, doesn't it? Normal string, and it prints it as one of those. Yeah, so it doesn't do anything fancy. Let's print this guy blue. So there we're getting, yeah, we're getting home mat, which is fine. A bit dark though. So if pointer is equal to resolution, it's a read of size 8 it doesn't like. So the pointer itself would be valid. I think it has to be this actually, doesn't it? This is what I'm talking about. I want to be saying while the pointer is not a null, not the null, not this dude here, or rather not the null that's at the end of a return car. So I need to do reference to that. Let's see what we're printing. Oh, where we're getting up to. So we're getting the H out of it. Where's the... Okay, we're getting the forward slash actually. That handles it okay. So it doesn't like the fact that I'm doing something fancy with the dest. So that was fine with it, and it produced the whole thing. Home at www.risky. So we are successfully resolving this home variable. Not 100% sure why it wasn't letting me increment that thing though. Maybe it was just a parenthesization problem. Don't know, but I'm fine with this actually. So yeah, now I think everybody should be able to resolve an environment variable. Now, how do I know if this actually does anything? Because I want to be able to say, first of all, resolve local variable. If we can't resolve a local variable, then call resolve environment variable. And yeah, I mean, if that fails, then that was the situation. What is like, do you just report that you couldn't find the environment variable, or do you not bother? We essentially want to be saying, if we can't resolve, right, and we're writing to the pointer, and this is all complete nonsense. We don't need to be doing this at all. This guy doesn't get handled. Do you see what I'm kind of driving at here though? If I'm going to be writing this resolve environment variable, making it return the number of characters that it incremented, I suppose actually, you know, if this returns 0, I mean, that might just be it actually, isn't it? If that returns 0, although you do need to have incremented the pointer, right? And I can't very well say if that equals 0, because that's talking about where the pointers ended up. Maybe it's just all this. Maybe that's what you want. Okay, so this, in order to resolve the local variable, it also needs to take the scope tree. Right. So I think we want to be saying, depending on what the actual variable is, we want to be looking at different things. So it's like what match have I got? Strings match, strings and strings. It might be a case for a strings differ LV0. Yeah, that's what I'm using down here. Get config identifier from string. Right, yeah. We could actually use that, couldn't we? And if we find that, yeah, you can just then switch on the actual thing that you've given back. Yeah, it probably is this actually, because you've got all the things in here. You've got your person, you've got your projects. We don't have a family in there yet, but we'll be able to add that. Got an owner. Yeah, let's go for this. Yeah, and it is going to have to be a bunch of cases. I just think there's no way around it, I guess. Put the break in just for good form. So if we've got the project, we want to be looking at the current project's ID. Sorry, that's not at all right. If it's the project, then what we need to be doing is taking the current scope's ID and stuffing that onto the dest. Right. We do need to be escalating up. We'll need to be going up the scopes as well to make sure that we actually pull people in. I think. Because we, our own scope might not be a project. But, well, is that possible? I mean, I'm sure there are some cases where stuff is referring to things that aren't within our scope. Maybe. Is that true? Let's check. So we can actually skip past the, well, these guys are going to get absorbed by projects. So a project is going to have an owner. It will have a family when we give it one. A project will have a project. It's going to have a project. Support Patreon. Support is associated with people. So yeah, I think here this is a situation where this is valid. But it's not available to this person. So it's like, if you see a person, you need to see if our own scope matches this thing here. Then use the ID. If it isn't, then you go to this person's parent and you see if that's a person. So yes, I think that's answered the question that there are situations where you are referring to things that are not in your own immediate scope, so you need to be going to talk to your parent. Let's make a note of that actually. Let's just note it. and the support scope can only be contained within within the root scope, but we don't care about that. It can be contained within the person. Yeah, and it can't be contained within that. So yes, if we see a support, then we need to look up, see if the parent is a person, and then resolve it. Otherwise bail, and just say this just isn't valid here. I mean, it's not actually even that, is it? Because we still at this point don't know if this thing could be an environment variable. So yeah, I suppose maybe this thing just does what it can do. It tries to resolve this by looking up into the support scope's parent person. Which it needs to have, doesn't it? Or rather, when you see this, you need to see what our scope is. Does that make sense? Because you could conceivably have a thing that's like this, right? So you've got a support. Well, let me put it another way. You could have a thing that's like this. So if we see this within the person scope, and we're getting the ID of this particular variable, if this ID is an ident person, yeah, it's like if the scope that we're looking at has the ID person, then we use that as the thing. But if it doesn't, if this the ID of this scope is not person, then we need to go up to this person's parent, or rather, just so I don't confuse, go up to this scope's parents. Also, I think let's just have a quick gander. I hope that we're actually storing this thing that I think we're storing. It's a config pair. Yeah, it is a config identifier. Yeah, so it's the value is what we're talking about. So when I'm talking about this is the ID's value, and the key is going to be this, but it's going to be represented using that thing that we're switching on. Yeah, so basically what we're saying is if the scope ID key is equal to ident project, Uh, Also bearing in mind that we're being passed a single variable, so we don't care about any other parts of the string. If the key is the item project, then we want to be writing out the value of the value of this into the dest and returning the length of that string. So I guess maybe I think when we're resolving local variables, everything we're going to be dealing with is going to be strings, I think. So what we could say is the following. Right. And then down here, what you do is you just do essentially this little thing here. It's copy the strings to the dest. What is it? It's this plus plus is equal to the resolution base I. Incompatible type for argument 2, really? What did I say it should be? Oh yeah, the scope tree. So let's just see if this, first of all, does anything like what we'd expect. So do we have anything where we've got project scoped? Probably don't. So that means we can't do it up there because that would be allowed. I mean, we could do any way we like, honestly. Let's just say that this guy here uses it. I think this should end up in the thing. See if it crashes. Does it crash? Let's also do the resolve. Print this guy. And where's that blue thing happening? There. Let's just print off a little new line after there. I suppose also we could do the same thing, couldn't we? So it doesn't like that. Okay. Incompatible type. Oh, do the wrong thing. Okay. Yeah, because the guy up previously was resolving from the getEnv, right? But in the, which returns a non-terminated string. But in our case, we were resolving from one of our own strings, which are actual strings. So with a bit of luck, we should see book in blue somewhere. So there's resolved local variable happening, and there we go. So let's resolve that. Yeah, that's the only place we're going to see that, I reckon. We could probably do with printing out the the actual eventual config, couldn't we? You know, after we've done all these string resolutions, just to see what we end up with. Oh, it was the book, wasn't it? So there's book, and then we have it, the title. Title resolved to book, which is perfect. Right, that's exactly what we wanted it to do, because we set the title to book. Now if we set this title to be home, we should end up seeing the title being set to home, believe it or not. And we do, yeah. Perfect. Also, I mean, we are handling the rest of it, aren't we? We're sort of saying, after doing that, put whatever you fancy. Yeah. And before it, do we permit stuff happening before? We do. Cool. Okay, so I think we've established how this is kind of supposed to work, haven't we? Obviously, we're still printing. We're still allocating the memory for each individual thing we're doing. Right, the resolve thing is calling make string down here, so that's still happening, which we don't really want it to be happening. If we can help it, if we can figure out a way to actually do the essentially do the way to that allows us to perform a single free. Yeah, if we can do the way that relieves us of having to individually free each individual string allocation. But yeah, I think I might call it a day there, because K is finished, and yeah, we can't really continue once Kate's done and dusted, can we? That would just be bad form. So with bearing in mind, I probably want to change these little things to actually have some sort of a copy string function, essentially. Where's result first being used? I think result is first used down here, isn't it? But yeah, there's gonna be plenty of stuff to do. Plenty of stuff to get our teeth into in the next coming days. So yeah, for now that is all. Finally, we've started to actually resolve some variables. I think for the last like 12 streams or so, we've had the title variable resolution, and we just haven't been doing anything like that. We've been preparing to do this. But yeah, we'll call it a day now, and continue another time. So until then, farewell for now.